Today I'm going to show you how to create movement, excitement, and punch in your songs by breaking down the whole production process behind the song called Become the One by All Is Ashes. Let's get going. Have you ever been to a rock or metal concert and you're standing outside of the venue waiting for the headliner to play, and the only thing that you can hear with opening bands is 45 minutes of non-stop rumble? Well, this is a very common thing in rock and metal genres. Since we're dealing with intense and aggressive music, there tends to be a lack of dynamics. And with the law of diminishing returns, most bands would take big advantage to rework their arrangements to create more contrasts and dynamics to keep the interest going. Let's take the analogy of pizza. Everyone loves a good pizza, right? But if you start eating pizza every night, or let's say even every single meal of the day, eventually you're going to start getting very tired of it. So it's the same with music. We need to keep things fresh, we need different texture, we need different sounds. So to create interest in songs, we need to layer things and to bring new elements and song structures that will keep the listener on its toes. Not only we have to work on the contrast between the parts of a song, but we have to create contrast between songs. Let's say you're working on an EP or an album, you have to have different arrangements, have different tonality and different tempo to create always this new elements to bring something fresh. So let's start with the intro. The goal was to have massive impact when the first riff from verse number 1 comes in. So essentially we're taking the same riff, but we're taking it one octave higher. I'm also using two different filters that are moving dynamically. So it starts by being lo-fi with maybe 10% of the frequency range, and it opens up until it lands on the first downbeat. Additionally, I'm using a reverse cymbal sampler here and a percussive hit from Heaviosity Damage 1. So it really helps give this big knock after the first 4 bars. So let's listen to it. And let's listen to the full track. So it's doing this slingshot effect. So it's very interesting what it does, the filter, the impacts and all these things. So they really bring the listener in by an element of surprise. So that's what I find so interesting in how it was built. So then we're at verse 1. We're letting the song establish itself. And then after that, we're changing vocal range. So already at pre-chorus, what you see here in yellow, we're already changing and bringing new elements. So it's keeping the same type of rhythm, but it's changing melodically, which brings something very fresh and interesting. So this song starts as a kind of death metal waltz. The vocals are very low pitch, it's growls, and if you see here in pink, already to help the transition and to bring this kind of slingshot effect, we're adding one layer of higher pitch vocals towards the end to bring this sense of continuity before we land in melodic vocals in the part of the pre-chorus that's following.
Disgusting, what is out there? The opposite, you pieces of shit. To any virtue I hold dear, you wanting to rape or better kill me. Violence remains in dark corners of...
So right at the middle of the pre-chorus, we do a full split-second break. All the band stops right there, following the last word. Already it creates this contrast because everything stops for a second.
Opposite, you pieces of shit, to any virtue I hold dear. You wanting to rape or better kill me. Violence remains in dark corners of the earth, shadows of the world. I'd rather go away without you. I don't smile as much. I have become the world at one sound. Fire, and I really doubt you'd help us. I am splendid at the body. No care, slap me with your body.
So here in the chorus is the hook. We want to hear melodic elements, but we're also bringing back the growl vocals, and not only that, we're layering here with this grainy lo-fi sound with the microphone we're using here. I think it's the Green Bullet.
I really doubt you'd help us.
So this adds another layer. So here we're at the chorus. We're basically fusing together elements of the verse and of the pre-chorus.
I have become the world at one sound. Fire, and I really doubt you'd help us. I am splendid at the body. No care, slap me with your body.
So as you can see, it's building up like this. It starts with only one, then we have three, then we have five, and again at the end we have five. So we have low growls, high pitch vocals, and the main one. So it really opens up and it creates this build up. So that's what we want to work on. In each section, something is added to create interest. So let's listen to the post-chorus. When I received that song first, there were only guitars there. So to bring something fresh to the party, I decided to work on a bunch of samplers here without taking away the power of the heavy guitar riffs. So that's very important. When you have a vision, in this case, the vision was to have a heavy song. You do not want to steal the show. So in this case, all the samplers are there to emphasize what's already there, not to really take away from what's there. So I added on top of that 4 different loops that really help bring all this stuff out. And 2 of them are melodic, 2 of them are more rhythmic. But in one of the melodic loop from Loop Designer here, we have Novo from Heaviosity. There's this type of polyrhythm, a 3/4 pattern. So you're gonna hear what it does. It's pretty interesting. And then we add the second loop, which is more orchestral. And the 2 loops together. Now let's check out the percussive stuff that's going on. So we have a damage low. So it's like a modern war drum thing that's going on. Also, I destroyed it with distortion. Let's listen to the next loop here. So these are more higher pitch accents to stack on top of the main rhythmic loop. So let's listen to the 2 loops together. Okay, now let's listen to the whole sampler bus together. Finally, let's listen to the full song. So a lot of elements in the samplers are working as call and answer with the actual band, which makes things very cool and interesting. And as you can see, the samplers are not that loud, but if I would take them out of the mix, you would definitely miss them. So in the song arrangement, we're passing from post-chorus straight to pre-chorus. So we're skipping a return to verse to make sure that we're keeping the listener on its toes instead of adding another 16 bars. In this case, the formula worked really, really well. Notice again that in this pre-chorus, there's a break, but instead of having everything stop, I added this sampler from Damage 2 here.
The insta-famous ignoramus teach your son to become a bitch. No difference with boys and girls. Remain at home and eat up above. Forces you submit, causes they see fit. I'd rather go in without you, I don't mind as much. Our on the wall at one sound. Fire, and I really doubt you'd help us. Hiding, splendid at the body. No chaos, laughing with your body. On the wall at one sound.
So since we had this very short song structure and I skipped the second verse, the chorus, since it's the hook, is repeated twice. And right after that, we're landing on the guitar solo. So we're really not wasting time here. So the solo part is over that guitar breakdown part with all the samplers. So again, we're layering, and it really feels like there's a build-up going on the whole time. That's what makes the song interesting. Okay, very cool. So notice that halfway through the solo, we're changing dynamics. So drums are starting with this at the gates type of thrash beat, which is very cool and dynamic. So it again gives a second push to this part and never makes it boring, even though the guitar solo is pretty long. And right after that section, now we're going to a lo-fi part with a lot of textures that we're gonna check together. So let's listen to it first. So here there's a lot of stuff going on, but probably the coolest feature here is the drum loop. So this drum loop here is heavily processed. So first thing is there's an automation from left to right, and then we start here with a filter, then after that heavy compression, then after that saturation, then after that a delay to make it very, very loose and wide, and finally black hole, my favorite reverb. So this really helped open up and make it a little bit more diffused. Then we bring back the sampler from the breakdown part, but heavily filtered. And then we add the drum loop. And finally, there's this reverse cymbal and the impact that we had at the beginning of the song. So we're bringing back elements to create symmetry. So let's listen here to the vocals during that section. So to blend in with all the crazy mood we're trying to establish, the vocals are using again a bullet, heavily filtered, heavily distorted, and the singer is using whispers to bring this gritty texture.
Standing by as I get stabbed.
So let's listen to the full part. Very cool. So again, it's all a matter of contrast. So this lo-fi part also really breaks the linearity of the song. Then we're at the final chorus. Nothing really new there, but it closes the loop, meaning it's very symmetrical with how the song started. So let's listen. So the goal here was really to keep it short and sweet. It's under 3 minutes, so there's no wasted time. So one very common tip that I give to bands is to cut the fat. If there's a weak part in the song and it doesn't affect the song structure so much, cut the fat and keep only what's best, because the listeners, especially nowadays, they get bored very quickly with stuff. So in this case, we cut the fat in multiple places, and as you can see now, we have a tight 2-minute 50 song that really hits hard. I really hope that you like having this quick glance under the hood. If you like the video, please click like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. See you very soon.